Disney just did something incredibly rare in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, something that they haven't done since the night before Galaxy's Edge would finally open up to Disneyland guests. Could this be another indication that things are starting to change inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge? And could we be just a step closer to seeing Disney use Galaxy's Edge to its full promised potential? This indicates that Disney is one step closer to finally fixing fans' #1 complaint about Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Bricky here, breaking down some pretty significant changes that we've seen at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and looking at the evolution of this land and trying to predict, is Disney finally committing to getting this land right? So we all remember the ambitious concept artwork. We remember the promises from the heads of the company that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was going to be full of characters and full of storytelling. However, once fans finally got into the land, it did seem like the plan had changed. And it seemed like that plan had changed based on financial cutbacks. And it didn't help matters that the contrasting Avengers campus kind of got the storytelling right out of the gate, even though it was a much smaller, less ambitious land that I refer to as Avengers Hallway. But what we saw from Avengers Hallway was the constant innovation of storytelling and bringing characters into the park. And maybe, just maybe, Galaxy's Edge is taking another giant step in that direction. This massive stage behind me had an amazing show that happened on it only one time. And that one time was the media night, the evening before Galaxy's Edge would open up to all of its guests. Since then, that stage has been dormant. Other than casual photo ops from Rey, Chewie, Stormtroopers, and Vi Morena, there has been not a single performance on that stage. However, the stage came back to life just this past week, one night only, and for the best possible reason. There was a one-night return for a Make-A-Wish event that happened inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And this event looked amazing, like Disney went all out, as well as they should, for these special guests and their families. But let's ponder this for a moment, because if Disney was able to cast the show, rehearse it, and put it on flawlessly one time for these very special guests, that is a lot of effort, that is a lot of energy, and worthy for the cause. But if they have that at their fingertips now, does that mean that was also a soft launch for what guests could anticipate in the near future? And another interesting detail for this event, they also brought back original characters into the land. Luke and Leia were inside of Batuu for the first time that I'm aware of. So could this also mean that they're finally toying with doing what guests want the absolute most? As an illustrator and a designer, a former artist for Disney's Wonderground Gallery, I love Galaxy's Edge because I love its construction, but I also love its potential. But many guests paying top dollar to get into the park, they don't care about potential. They care about right now. When we look at the far less superior Avengers Hallway, storytelling has made a huge difference in that land. And it's one of the only reasons why a lot of regular guests continue to go back to that land, because it's not for web slingers. So when we look back at the history of Avengers Campus, kind of the moments that it pops the hardest are when recent events happen like Deadpool and Wolverine show up. But it is pretty easy for guests to come inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and quickly notice that there's a stage right here and a stage with nothing happening on it. Just this year, a droid finally showed up to be a host of fireworks inside of Galaxy's Edge, where they have just now decided, after 5 years of the land being open, to play music during the fireworks. But the crazy thing about this courtyard that also houses the Millennium Falcon, that is, if you look around the rim of this cul-de-sac, there are performance stages everywhere around you. I feel that at some point this was envisioned to be a big show where you would see characters going across the bridge, talking to each other on various stages, and it would make sense because this area is designed to hold an enormous amount of people, and it also was designed to tell stories to a lot of people. And that story hasn't been told. And then we find ourselves in another giant courtyard with yet again another stage. And although this stage has been used pretty minimally, it's more of an entry and exit point for Kylo Ren, a First Order officer, and a couple of stormtroopers that just can't seem to get it right. But one would think that there would be a way to have storytelling that begins over inside the Millennium Falcon courtyard. The story could also continue over here. When you take the combination of the concept artwork, the promise from the Disney leaders, and then coming here and seeing all of these abandoned stages, it makes the land feel disappointing because the potential of what they had planned is right in front of your eyes, but then it feels ignored. The guests aren't ignoring that the prices keep going up and that coming to Disneyland is incredibly expensive for a lot of families. Therefore, they don't see the promise of the future, they see the neglect of their present. Whether Galaxy's Edge gets a new attraction, I don't know. That could be a very, very long thing off into the future. But what we're breaking down today is when we can anticipate Galaxy's Edge getting more, what? Vibes. That's right, baby. Vibes over rides. That's the mantra of me. That's the mantra of my channel. Always chasing those sweet Disneyland vibes. And you can do the same by supporting Hey Bricky in the link below and getting your own beautiful Bricky blouse. Cannot wait to see you in the parks wearing yours. Now back to today's video. Break it down. When's Galaxy's Edge gonna get those new vibes? But to Disney's credit, they have been slowly making some adjustments. And I believe there's a path where we might be one step closer to that thing that most Disney fans have dreamed of. Darth Vader in Galaxy's Edge. One night return of performance on this stage and how we've seen this land slowly evolve with new characters coming in, and the announcement that soon on Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, we'll be able to go on an adventure with Mandalorian and Grogu. I think that there are enough pieces of the puzzle to put together that Disney is loosening up on the ridiculous keeping this land inside of one story and one timeline. This event also brought in traditional Star Wars characters like Luke, Leia, 3PO, all inside of Galaxy's Edge. And this is where I think fans might start to get their way. All of the rules imposed in this land were put together by WDI that wanted to be the gatekeepers of the storytelling of Galaxy's Edge. Well, they have a lot of projects on the horizon, and soon Galaxy's Edge will no longer be the new shiny thing. Therefore, I'm hoping that with the gatekeepers distracted and thinking about other bigger, more ambitious projects, every creative eventually just goes, fine, you want to put Darth Vader in your land, put Darth Vader in your land. And I think that that moment isn't too far away, because the thing I know about being a creative, eventually the suits always win. And whereas WDI is thinking smart and thinking with their heart, and I applaud that, I always appreciate their talents, I do know that the Disney brass reads the surveys. When you get that Disney survey, always fill it out, because those surveys are kind of like a crystal ball into the future of what you can anticipate at the Disney theme parks. And Disney obviously has seen the synergy that happens at Avengers Campus. That's why I focused on it so much in this video, because I know that they're learning from the data of all of those big drops and fan reactions and fan expectations, and they're thinking we have another place to tell these stories. But I believe that management has their hands tied behind their back because of what WDI set out to do with this land. But there could be a change on the horizon, as this is no longer the pet project of Walt Disney Imagineering. Friends, I hope you're enjoying today's breakdown on the potential future of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, where we do what we do on this channel. We study the past so we can better predict the future. Make sure you enjoy going into the future with me by subscribing to Hey Bricky. That is the easiest, freest way to make sure I can keep showing up each and every week, creating 3 quality episodes for you. I'd appreciate so much if you take a second to subscribe and keep going on this adventure with me. Now back to today's video. I'm so happy you showed up. And thinking long term, when Tomorrowland at Disneyland finally gets whatever it's going to get, that will remove the core Star Wars out of the park. And I believe if Darth Vader loses his home inside of Launch Bay, he'll find a new home inside of Galaxy's Edge. So now let's think like a corporation. You want to put on a tremendous party for a Make-A-Wish Foundation. You come up with the idea of, let's test some of the things that we want to do. We'll do good to this community of people that deserve this and more. but we'll also be able to make a case. We'll be able to make a case about how fans reacted and make a case that maybe this is what we should start doing in Galaxy's Edge to bring more visitors over to the far west end of the park. Because a lot of times it can be pretty empty in here considering that this is the newest, most ambitious land inside of Disneyland. So if I was wrong and it was just a one-night event, then oh well. The best people possible got to experience this show and seeing an evolution of Galaxy's Edge that maybe the rest of us won't get to see. But man, if anybody's worthy, it's those folks and their families. But my business brain tells me that if Disney went through the hassle to put all of that together, to cast, practice, perform it, and dial it in, that there is a big indication that it could happen again and again and again. We've already seen the rules slowly changing. We've seen the popularity fade away. I feel like there is new hope for Galaxy's Edge. Friends, check out this video here where I break down how I believe that this was originally designed to be the launching point for the third missing attraction at Galaxy's Edge. Thank you so much for showing up. I appreciate you.